Hi, I'm Keith Morey, Provo City's Economic Development Director, and I'm here with Arian Lewis from Kiln, right here at Kiln Provo, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the incredible startup environment that you've created here. Why don't you talk about that? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here at the footsteps of the Rockies. Grateful to be in Provo. I grew up here and I live here now with my family. And Kiln Provo is very unique. It's a first of its kind, actually. One of the first co-working and flex office spaces in the nation to be built from scratch. And we'll house over 70 companies here. Companies ranging from 50 to 60 team members all the way to one individual team member. So we're a flex office environment, a community of great companies, lots of startups here, as well as boutique workspace.
Yeah, it's interesting. You and I were just talking about the incredible environment and being up in the mountains and how amazing that is to live so proximate to that. But you were recently in Forbes magazine, not only for the external environment, but for what you create here. And if I can rephrase that, they talked a little bit about how this environment is almost tailored towards high performance athletes, if you will.
That's right.
Talk about that experience and what you feel like they had to say.
Yeah, there's a lot to the environment that we create, and it's all designed to sort of fit around our member the way that a trainer or a shoe would fit around a performance athlete. It's designed to optimize their mental well-being, their physical well-being while they're at work, and of course, their professional growth and development. And Forbes magazine, along with the authors of that article, wanted to highlight the fact that the world of work is changing, and is really changing around the future of hospitality and the way that the work environment fits around the worker rather than the other way around.
What do you think are the key elements that create, because when I walk through Kiln, you can feel the difference in the atmosphere. It feels like a different kind of a space to be in. But if you had to single out some key components that you think contribute to that, what are those?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's the people. So the number one thing that makes Kiln special are the people, and that starts with our own team and the way they program the environment, the way they help people to engage with one another, and really the feeling and the vibe that they create. And then the second is the environment itself allows for lots of optionality. So it's not just square footage, it's utility function of square footage, giving people a lot of choices of things they can do to allow them to optimize the workday for themselves through the environment. And then we have beautiful design and very thoughtful aesthetic, including lots of plants. I grew up in a home with lots of plants here in Provo. We had an atrium, and I learned very early on in life, plants give off very good energy. And so we have over 300 natural plants here at Kiln Provo, along with beautiful artwork and lots of thoughtful design.
So Arian, all the things around us that we've talked about, the plants, the environment, are to me symbolic of a broader startup culture or environment that exists in and around Provo. Even though I keep thinking that we should move away from that topic, it continues to rise to the top.
For sure.
Provo City was recently recognized as the number 4 best place in the country for STEM business development. And I just find myself asking, why do you think that is?
I think it has to do with the rich history that exists here. You had Novell and other companies as much as 50 years ago building tech companies here in this ecosystem, and generations of startups and founders mentoring, coaching, helping each other. The number one thing that drives entrepreneurship is culture. And Provo has a very rich and deep culture in entrepreneurship.
Well, I would agree 100%. I see that, and I've talked on a number of different occasions that to me it almost feels like it's in the soil, and that's an exaggeration, I know, but there have been people that have said to me, like we had the
We might say it's in the powder here.
the snow powder. Yeah, the Undersecretary for the Department of Commerce asked us what's going on in Provo, because we're constantly at the top of some of those metrics. And to me, it's difficult to actually quantify, to say A plus B equals F, and if you subtract Z, you get Provo.
Believe there are some great studies out there. MIT has produced a couple of studies around the way that ecosystems develop and grow. Certainly the fact that we are sandwiched between 2 world-class universities has a lot to do with it. Yeah. And BYU, being the older of the 2 universities, has been churning out great entrepreneurs for a long time, and a lot of that has to do with the alumni. as people have come out and been successful as entrepreneurs, they go back and they give back to the university, and the university has that that kind of pattern going on, and that really helps to increase the number of entrepreneurs coming out of the universities. And now UVU and President Jimenez has done an excellent job at continuing that and continuing to kind of double down on that.
Well, let's maybe expand that question a little bit, because when you decided to build the Kiln Provo location, I think you were a little bit sensitive, because this is your hometown, about trying to make sure that that was a legitimate business decision.
Yes.
And so you were pretty thoughtful about that. Maybe talk about what you did to actually validate, is Provo the right place, and why?
So I intuitively knew that Provo had a lot to offer, but the data is very compelling as well. Provo is one of the best places for self-employed, white-collar workers. Education per capita is one of the highest in the United States right here in Provo in terms of the number of citizens or members of Provo that have higher education. It also it ranks high in terms of venture capital per capita. And then it has a really impressive list of past companies that have come through Provo or have launched here and have been successful, and then entrepreneurs who, when they receive their exit, have reinvested their capital into this market.
How do we all collaborate and coordinate with each other so that we're supported? What are your thoughts about that? Because to me, I think that's the future and what gives Provo some robustness.
You know, I'd love to say that we're putting in place the building blocks, but the truth is they've been in place for a long time.
I agree.
There's some amazing, some very impressive entrepreneurs that have come out of this ecosystem that really have laid the foundation. So now we're just building upon that foundation. And you're correct, you know, what Ryan Smith is doing at the mouth of the canyon, what Rev Road does with tons and tons of companies, with what many of the venture groups are doing here. You know, Album Ventures, for example, is based here. Part of their team is based here in Provo. And we have a lot of other venture capital groups that are participating in the ecosystem here. And of course, the universities and what they're doing. All of these things really set us up for a very exciting 10 years ahead. Provo is really such a great seed bed for companies, but now we also want to make it a forest.
Yeah.
So if we look back, what hasn't worked so well is sometimes we've created these amazing seedlings that have grown into big forests and they've left. Now we want to look at how we help them stay and grow here in Provo and thrive in this ecosystem.
No, I agree 100%. And you've been such an incredible asset in this space for so long. You know, you talked about the successful companies that have returned to put their investment back into Provo. And from my perspective, that's exactly who you are and what you are, what you've done around the country and what you're continuing to do. Once you kind of proved that product out, you brought it back home and you built it here in the heart of Provo, and we're so thankful that you're here. This is an incredible example of what startup environments can be, and we appreciate your partnership and your commitment to us, and thanks for sitting down and talking to us today.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Talking here with Arian Lewis today about the startup environment here in Provo and why this is such an incredible opportunity is a perfect example of why Provo is your place to start your next business and what we consider another Provo advantage.